So in this segment, we're going to be discussing a clip from LBC with Rachel Shabi, where she kind of lays out the problems of the kind of Brexit ideology, and I think she does a really good job here. So we'll just run through this clip.
It's so it's like an ideology.
We're all Brexiteers now, aren't we?
That has no contact.
The way he tries to jump in there and try and be funny is just embarrassing. Not a strong start from that dude.
With reality. So whenever you present them with reality, it's like, oh, well, it wasn't done right, or it wasn't done far enough, or no, this bit was wrong, that bit was wrong. It's never actually the Brexit that was wrong. That is the definition of a fundamentalist, by the way.
That's very true. That it's, the fact is Brexit was never going to work regardless. Even if we stayed in the single market and customs union, for example, we would have lost our veto and our voting rights. So by definition, it would have been worse. But we have, almost the hardest Brexit that they could have done. And, it's all gone wrong. Fundamentally, this country is going down the pan, and it's something she kind of lays out as well. And we'll get that towards at the end of the clip, but it's just made everything, not everything in this country, but significant things in this country just far, far worse. And it's just, they just don't accept it. And, like she said, they just say, oh, you didn't do it right, or, I wouldn't have done it like this. And, she points out it's a fundamentalist. It's a cult. C-U-L-T for YouTube, in case you're listening. It's a cult at the end of the day, because, whatever you do is right by definition, and just because things went wrong doesn't mean it's your fault. You blame someone else for it. Boris Johnson, not a real Brexiteer, because he wrote 2 articles, one for Remain, one for Leave. The Tory party, not real Brexiteers, etc. It's just embarrassing.
And I just think that what we're seeing in the UK is this just slow decline. Some things are nothing to do with Brexit. Some things absolutely are to do with Brexit. And some things are made worse by Brexit.
And that's where it's kind of hard to figure out. Some things nothing to do with Brexit. Those things are relatively easy to figure out. The stuff that's made worse by Brexit, things like the farming industry, which I think was already struggling and already had many complaints around the way supermarkets have monopsony. I think that's the word for it. One buyer effectively, and bully them into lower prices and things like that. So there were problems before Brexit, but Brexit has exacerbated those problems that made them significantly worse. And problems caused by Brexit, things like import and export checks with the EU that didn't exist. Those are significant costs that would not have existed without Brexit. So it's about trying to have a nuanced conversation about the problems that existed before Brexit and the problems Brexit has made worse as well, and the ones that it has created. They're the conversations we should be having now, and it's difficult when you have people who struggle to do nuanced conversations. I'm not perfect or good at it, but I try, and I think that's the important thing.
And it's this combination of all those 3 things that has got Britain in this kind of horrible, and it's just become faded and downward, in a downward spiral. Everything is worse, and you just think, well, how on earth are we going to pull out of this, the slowest recovery in the G7, when Brexit keeps exerting this drag, not just in terms of economic reality, but in terms of the political reality of it constantly.
So if we look at the economic reality first, because you'll talk about the political stuff in a moment, but when you look at the economic realities, businesses are struggling to export and import, struggling to get the labour they need, the workers they need across the board. Every sector is struggling. It's just causing an economic drag in terms of what we can do as a country, and what will happen is businesses will just downsize to kind of keep up with the lowering of demand of their goods, and they'll start firing people and importing less and making less, because their goods are not in as much demand, and that's a massive problem for the economy. That's the way I can kind of see it going, and I've seen other commentators say the same thing. So I just it's a massive drag on the economy. 4% of GDP. That's not a joke. It's affecting so many small and medium enterprises in this country, which this country is built on. It's not just all big corporations and multinationals. There are a lot of SMEs in this country which are struggling because of Brexit, struggling because they can't get the stuff they need, can't get the staff they need, can't export the stuff they make. What's the point? The car industry, for example, is having, that is a multinational, but that is having so many problems because of Brexit. And it's just, we sold off the car industry, but they still had manufacturing plants in this country, and those are going to become less and less as we go on in time, I think.
Obsessing the Conservative government, who do nothing in the public interest, by the way, when it comes to Brexit. All it does is feed this big spat that you're having and taking the country down with us while you're having it.
That's what's happened here, really. When you think about it, this was just a big Tory ideological battle between the Eurosceptics, the absolute morons, and the rest of the Tories who are less moronic. That's what this was. And David Cameron thought he could get that referendum to get the Eurosceptic wing to pipe down. But that didn't happen. All it did was embolden them. And then when you have the Tory membership, the system that it is, like even like people that are don't live in the UK can gain membership, and I think a Turtle managed to get Tory party membership as well. All they've done is allow UKIP to flood in, so make that Eurosceptic wing even stronger, and make the Tory party just one that's absolutely devoid of reality. Fair enough, pushing nonsense like austerity and trickle-down economics. Those are fundamentally bad economic policies. But, pushing Brexit has no basis in reality. Well, neither do the other two, to be fair. But, it's just the point where they went from a party that was supposedly pro-business to a party that said, as Boris Johnson famously, F business. And that's where the Tory party are now. They've become, cultish in their defence of Boris Johnson, cultish in their defence of Brexit, and they're just dragged down the country in their kind of ideological battle. And it just sucks because we're caught in the middle of a Tory psychodrama. That's the easiest way to explain it. And there were just so many victims of this Tory psychodrama. It's gotten to the point where it's like, you guys need to be in the wilderness for a long, long time and really think about what you've done. Honestly, because what they've done to this country is just shocking, and the stuff they've gotten away with is just wow. It's just wow. It's just astonishing. And I think a lot of people that are looking at this from the outside, who don't have Tory media indoctrination or don't have the apathy people have in this country, are just looking at us and thinking, at what point do you guys stop? At what point does this stop and you guys take control of the situation and get rid of this? At what point does that happen? Because the situation is getting dire. I'll be honest. The economic situation where we're celebrating having 0% growth, and then saying, oh, look at Germany's struggling as well. Like, they're the only G7 member that are struggling fundamentally, and they're still back to their pre-pandemic levels, as I have to keep painfully pointing out here. But look at Germany's failure. Oh, let's celebrate Germany failing. We're not as bad as them, are we? It's like, yeah, we are actually worse than them. We're in a worse economic position than them. And they'll come out of it. They'll come out of recession and they'll be better. They'll be in a better position, a bit of time after that. Whereas we will still be struggling. We will still be without an export market. It just don't make sense. Honestly, it's just getting painful. Their problems are fundamentally to do with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Once that ends, they'll be in a better position. But our problem won't end until we really look at ourselves and try and get back into the EU, which that is just becoming more difficult by the day, it feels like. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I can't even slow my words now. Shouts out Rachel Shabi, really good, really talented, really bright journalist. Someone I have a lot of respect for, and someone you should definitely follow on Twitter. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.